Welcome to class. Sorry I couldn't be with you today, but follow along with the video and I think you'll find that the video is self-explanatory and you should be able to get on with a good day's work. During today's class, you will be preparing for the unit exam. Following these instructions and working hard during the next 80 minutes or 75 minutes means that you won't have to sweat it over the weekend. So sit back, listen carefully, and follow the instructions. Okay, let's start off by going to the My MIDI page. Go to the My MIDI page, go to the section that says Cycles of Matter, Energy, Transfer and Ecosystems, and look for Day 2, Week 5, right here. You would have been handed out 2 pieces of paper in class today, or you will be. Section 3.2 Note Taker. You will do that in class, read through the textbook and answer the questions. It should take no more than about 10 minutes. You may put your headphones on or your earplugs in and work quietly. You will also be given a document that's called Student Outcomes for this unit. I'll come back to that in a moment. On My MIDI, you can see a link that says Unit 1.2 Review Questions. Click on the link and open it in Notability. This is a series of review questions that will help you prepare for the exam. The questions have been divided up by outcome. Remember, we talked about outcomes. These are the things that students need to know. So what we have done here is listed several questions under each outcome. 1.5 says students should be able to describe the flow of matter within biogeochemical cycles, the water cycle, the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, by interpreting models in POGL. And here you see your series of questions. I would like you to work your way through the questions using whatever material you have at hand and mark the correct answer, what you believe to be the correct answer, directly on your Notability page. Once you've finished all these, just file the Notability page on your iPad and then check back on Sunday. I will have posted the answers then and you can check your own work. So that's the review. So complete Unit 3.2, Note Taker, and work on these exam review questions. Now please go to the student outcomes for this unit and click on that. There are 12 statements from 1.1 right the way through to 1.12. These are the 12 outcomes that we have covered in the first 5 weeks of school. And these determine what students should be able to know or explain or understand or prove. What I would like you to do is read through each outcome. For example, let's look at the first one. Students will be able to distinguish living from non-living on the basis of established characteristics. This refers to the characteristics of life. What you should now do is pause the video and go to your textbook, look up the characteristics of life and jot them down. Now move on to the next outcome. Demonstrate the properties of water. Adhesion, cohesion, capillarity, solubility, polarity through a hands-on investigative activity. This basically deals with the properties of water, as does 1.3. Make some notes here. What you should do is use the POGL on properties of water, look at the lab on properties of water, and check back on your note taker. Remember, water is polar because of the uneven sharing of electrons between the oxygen and the hydrogen, and as a result, the oxygen has a slightly negative charge and the hydrogen has a slightly positive charge. This allows water molecules to form hydrogen bonds between each other, giving it the qualities of adhesion, cohesion, and so on and so forth. 1.4 talks about the movement of materials across a membrane. Remember, we talked about solutions being hypotonic, isotonic, and hypertonic. Again, go to the POGIL that says transport in cells. You also have a note taker. I believe it's note taker 7.3 that explains what all of this is. 1.4b talks about how water will move from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Again, make some notes. 1.5 deals with nutrient cycles. And in the last couple of weeks, we've talked about the water cycle, the carbon cycle, and the nitrogen cycle. Look at the POGIL on the nutrient cycles and follow through the models. Go back through the questions again. 1.5b says identify the various other sources of carbon that can be stored other than photosynthesis and respiration. Here we're talking about carbon sinks, and we're referring to the fossil fuels. 1.6, I would use the POGIL that we did in class the other day on photosynthesis and cellular respiration and simply write down the equation for photosynthesis. .7 says gather data and analyze to establish rates of carbon cycling in plants. We achieve this outcome by doing the investigative series lab, where we see that carbon dioxide has been given off by the Alodia plant through the process of cellular respiration, and we see a change in colour in the bromothymol blue solution. 1.8, just look up the word chemosynthesis. Basically what it means is sometimes organisms can make their own food without using the process of photosynthesis, and they use chemicals instead. 1.99 talks about trophic levels. Remember, trophic level is an energy level in a food web or food chain and forms part of an energy pyramid. And here we talk about the 10% rule. We say that only 10% of energy is passed from one organism to the next. Period 1, you've done the 10% rule. Periods 2 and 5, you haven't done it yet. Period 5, I'll give you the worksheet and you can have a little go at this in class on Friday. 1.10 deals with the information that you covered in iPad Note Taker 3.3. It's pretty straightforward. What I would simply do here is draw the 3 energy pyramids. Pyramid of energy, or rather the 3 trophic level pyramids, pyramid of energy, pyramid of biomass, and pyramid of numbers. 1.11, define and provide examples of producer, consumer, and decomposer. Pretty straightforward. And lastly, 1.12, describe the importance of decomposers to the chemical cycling of atoms. Here, this is what we're talking about. If you go back to the nutrient cycle POGIL and have a look at the nitrogen cycle and the carbon cycle, we see that fungi and decomposers play a role in breaking down chemicals that contain the nutrients carbon and nitrogen so that they can be returned to the cycle again. So, work your way through this, making some brief notes. This will act as your study guide. Once you have finished that, now, most likely, it will be towards the end of class. And now here are some guidelines to prepare you for the test next week. Now that you've finished the unit review, the note taker, and made some notes, it's time to plan the final stage of your exam preparation. When you are at home over the weekend, get comfortable. Get a comfortable chair. Make sure there's lots of light, that the environment is calming, and that you have everything around you that you need. Particularly, for me, that would be a cup of tea. Collect the following items and papers to prepare for the exam. Get the first 2 quizzes. I've just returned the nutrient cycle quiz to you today. I will put the answers to these quizzes up online so that you can check your answers over the weekend. Gather your POGLs, the properties of water POGL, the nutrient cycle POGL, and the transport POGL. Have your iBook handy. Have your note takers, the review sheet, and the outcome sheet, and work your way through all this information. Finally, come back to my MIDI on Sunday afternoon, check your quiz answers, check the review question answers. Now sit down and have a nice cup of tea. You're ready for your exam. Thank you, and I hope you all have a nice weekend.